everybody. It's Eric Pappenfuss. It's Friday, so it must be a buy day. And today, Olivia, we are going to talk about books by four of the greatest mathematicians of the 20th century. Why? Well, because they walked in the door this past week at Book Buy, and each one has an interesting story to tell. But in case you're watching and you're one of those that understood on buy day there would be no math, we're going to start with another book that came in. You were there for this one coming in, Olivia, weren't you?
Yep.
Just yesterday. And that was this amazing literary first, The Grapes of Wrath. Take a look at that in the original dust jacket. Now, if you've learned anything from buy day these past months, I hope it is that the value of a book sort of pre-World War II is largely in the dust jacket, in the condition of the dust jacket, right? This book, Grapes of Wrath, without the dust jacket, would just be worth $100 or $200 as a first edition. By the way, you can tell it's a first edition because if you go past the title page onto the back of the title page, you can see it says first published in April 1939. After the first printing, this would get elongated each time they did a new printing, and they did a lot of printings in 1939, but if it only has one printing, it's a first printing. But dust jackets are incredibly important. This one is not in terrible condition. There's some chipping and some scuffing, but it's beautiful and it adds a lot to the value of the book. And I noticed in pricing this online that there are a lot of first edition copies of the Grapes of Wrath married to more recent dust jackets. And one of the tricks is to know that this is a true first edition dust jacket is that it actually says first edition. But if you go to like ABE Books or eBay today, you'll find that a lot of the book dust jackets are price clipped like that. And they say first edition with price clipped dust jacket, and they don't. And what they've really done is they've taken a later dust jacket that doesn't say first edition and made it impossible for you to tell by cutting it off. So you want to make sure that your Grapes of Wrath has a first edition dust jacket to go with the first edition book. And that's the great literary work, Steinbeck's wonderful Ode to the Dust Bowl and the American Great Depression, a realistic novel, an amazing book, and an incredible first to come into Book Buy. So you never know what's coming in the door. But we're going to talk about math today, Olivia. That was for the non-math majors, because if you're like me, you may not really understand everything that's going on in these books, but so be it. And we had the son of a very famous statistician come in and bring his father's books. And if you look at that signature, that is Oscar Kempthorne, who was a statistician and a geneticist in Iowa. Very famous. And he was basically a student at Cambridge University of the great Paul Dirac. And if you look here, this is Dirac's most important seminal work, the work for which he won a Nobel Prize and for which he is considered the father of quantum mechanics. What I love this book, why I love this book is because it's Dirac's most important book, owned by one of his students who went on to do great work in the US. He's the founder of the Iowa School. A lot of his randomization, Kempthorne's randomization analysis is used in sort of crop growing and agricultural industries. It's an interesting way of applying mathematics. But Dirac, it was his teacher, and this is a book that he clearly used in class, and it's just filled with notes. Now, neither you nor I can probably make any sense of what the notes are. I could make absolutely no sense of this long series of notes, but the book is wonderful because it was used in Dirac's class. Now, Dirac is considered the most important physicist of the 20th century, with maybe the exception of Einstein. Stephen Hawking owes a lot to Dirac. Dirac was brilliant and showed the degree to which mathematics and true mathematics could influence physics and all the great work of the 20th century. So a pretty neat book brought in by the son of a mathematician. You can see the spine there. It's Oxford University Press. The second book, which he also brought in, equally important. That one's from a little bit earlier, but this is Kempthorne's copy of John von Neumann's book on the theory of games. And this is considered perhaps, the most important path-breaking work on game theory, but also a book written by John von Neumann, who is considered really the great polymath of the 20th century. He's somebody who could do everything, not just mathematics, not just pure mathematics. For instance, von Neumann was influential in the Manhattan Project and not just game theory, but he basically was probably the most famous popularizer of mathematics in 20th century America, which is pretty good. So what Dirac was doing in England, von Neumann was doing in the United States. And this is his book, Game Theory, if you ever see it, an incredibly important book, informed, again, fully with mathematics. And I'm not going to pretend to be able to explain to you what it means, but I will tell you it's considered incredibly important. Well, pretty neat, right? Those came in from the Kempthorne Library, but we also had a couple other books come in this week that are math related. And again, I'd say most of these math textbooks, if you look at them, they're pretty unassuming. University presses or whatnot. This one's maybe the most unassuming of all. I think maybe if this walked into your bookstore, you might not really know what to do with it, but it's another book from the 40s. But this one is by the great American mathematician, Claude Shannon. And Shannon is incredibly important because he is considered the father of information theory. He is one of the first people to design a machine that could actually learn, or a machine that could basically improve upon its experiments. So Shannon is considered the father of AI. And in this generation, what's more important than looking back and understanding where AI came from, and it's probably impacting our lives today more than just about anything, or more than probably Shannon ever realized it was going to. The Mathematical Theory of Communication, University of Illinois Press, another one that just you might miss or you might pass over at a library sale. Started in he was working for Bell Telephone, started as a journal article and then was expanded. But information theory and communication in mathematics applied to AI. That was Claude Shannon. All right, you ready for our fourth and final book? This one's the best. I saved the best for last. And this is by a mathematician who basically took math and applied it to the field of economics. So you have all these different applications of mathematics and pure mathematics, but this one is Irving Fisher's doctoral dissertation on the mathematical investigations in the theory and value of prices. And what's interesting about Fisher, he was a longtime mathematician, professor at Yale University, who really was underappreciated during his lifetime, but has seen a great resurgence today when we look at economics. And he's greatly respected, and his books are amazingly desirable. We once purchased a collection of material up near Yale University where he taught that had lots of his off-prints and signed materials. They all sold like hotcakes. But this is even better because this is his dissertation, and it is inscribed by him, Irving Fisher, which is really neat. It's also an example of a book that was deaccessioned from a library. Poor Lawrence College, which is out there in the Midwest, just apparently didn't appreciate this book, deaccessioned the book, and then sold it. And it was picked up by one of our shop customers who brought it to Book Buy, who bought it at a used bookstore that also didn't recognize who Irving Fisher was and just bought it for a few pennies. And I had to pay a few hundred, but it is an incredibly important book. As his dissertation, he was not really very well known. This was written in 1927. Take a look at that beautiful, beautiful book, and look at these incredible machines which Fisher has developed to help him with his calculations. A little less, not recognizable today, today's computers. But you know what the best part about this book is, Olivia? And I am the one who discovered this. The person who brought it in didn't. Lawrence College didn't. The person who bought it at the used bookstore didn't. The bookstore didn't. But look at who it is inscribed to. M.M. Buber. And that is the great philosopher Martin Buber. And yes, it really is Martin Buber. He went by Martin Buber. His first name was actually Mordecai, so it was Mordecai Martin Buber, M.M. Buber. So you have one of the great economists of the 20th century giving a book to one of the great philosophers of the 20th century, Martin Buber. Martin Buber came up with the I-thou theory, which is basically to treat one another without presuppositions. So I take you as you are, Olivia, and you take me as I am. And that is the best means of developing a good communication and a good bond. Don't presuppose your judgments on me and I won't on you. A lot of that comes from Buber, and I am shocked by this. I guess that's Buber's signature. Something like that just brings the value to sort of an inestimable level. It's obviously one of a kind, and it's two great thinkers of the 20th century coming together. So not sure what to price that one yet, but that is perhaps one of the more interesting books ever to walk into our book by Irving Fisher's dissertation given to Martin Buber. Okay, we're going to end with a funny book. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Did you understand all the math there? There will be a quiz next week on, but no, there will be no quiz. Thought we'd end with, I've already referenced the granddaddy of them all. These names only pale in comparison to one name, and that's the great Einstein. And I've had this book for a while, and I really didn't know what to make of it. Zoom in on that baby. Images of Einstein, role model for young children, inappropriate picture book and bathroom companion. It is an author who has simply sketched Einstein throughout the entire book, Einstein as various occupations. So, for instance, yeah, you'll get it. There's Einstein as a police officer. There is Einstein as a bodybuilder. And if you ever wondered what Einstein would look like as a vampire, Vampire Einstein. That's the whole book, Olivia. And this book, this wonderful book, will be available for you at the checkout at Midtown Scholar if you can't get enough Albert Einstein. And who can't, really? Well, thanks for watching. That's another edition of Buy Day Friday. I'll see you next Friday at noon and every Friday at noon for more adventures in the world of books.